Happy Tuesday. I'm Nick T. This is my lady friend Laura T.
Your lady friend?
My wife. And I am Nick T. Very nice to see you. And we are in the same room. We're sitting across from the table, and just to prove it to you, I'm going to do this. See, we are actually in the same room, just sitting across the table from each other. So that's fun stuff. So it's freaking me out because it's about 10 seconds delayed over here on my thing. So leave a comment. I don't know if comments work or not, but it sounds good, Matt? Awesome. Thanks, man. So there actually are comments. All right, cool. So thanks for joining. This is I'm going to put a baseball hat on too. I have COVID hair, everybody, and it's gray. And I don't mind that it's long, but I mind that it's gray. So I'm going to put on my...
I've told you for years that gray makes men look more distinguished.
I don't want to look distinguished. I want to look young. So I put my backwards baseball hat on. So you don't have a gray hair on yet.
I do. Oh, boy. You can tell because my color's all grown out from COVID, and you can see the grays. COVID. So there you go.
I'm drinking
COVID hair on both sides.
A buble. I'm not drinking alcohol. LinkedIn, so don't stop. So we've never done LinkedIn Live before. I wanted to try it out. It's only on LinkedIn Live today. I'm not on Facebook or anyplace else. So I wanted to tie this in sort of with my work, with my job, because this topic actually, I don't think anybody who I work with knows about this. Very few people do. I actually have a bunch of notes. I'm going to bring up my notes. I'm actually going to I'll do see like that. So this all started, as my lady friend, wife Laura knows over there. This all started about a month or two ago, because one of my family members, who will remain nameless, posted a video of Joe Biden. And I've seen videos of Biden before during the whole, the whole leading up to the election. And I would just skip over them. They're, like Biden bloopers or like Trump, bloopers or whatnot. And I would just skip over them because I just don't have any interest in politics. Yeah, okay.
You should preface this that this is not going to be
This is not political.
This is not political. I'm actually
podcast.
Very anti us doing anything like that.
We're not anti-political, but we are. I don't care.
Anti-political social media diatribe.
Yes, there we go. That's a very good. You make a very good point. If you voted for Trump, good for you. If you voted for Biden, good for you. We don't care. It doesn't matter.
That's not what this is about.
But the jumping point of all of this stems from a video of President Biden. So anyway, back to the whole story. So a relative of mine posted a video. I've ignored these videos up to the election process. I just, I'm not interested in seeing a blooper, video. So finally, because a relative posted it, I clicked on it and I watched it. And the comments that this relative made were, he has dementia, listen to him talk, or something of that, nature. So I watched the video just because, the person who I knew posted it. And I'm like, that was a cat, sorry. He has the same speech problem that I have.
Yeah, and actually, just as a little backgrounder, during the whole election process, I had actually done a little research, and I did not know, because I don't follow politicians, that Biden has a speech problem. And so I found that out separate from this whole thing, so that was already known.
So a quick, side note, do you know what the hardest word to say for somebody with my problem is?
No.
It is.
Speech?
No.
Stutter.
Stutter is the hardest word for a
really?
stutter. I don't know why. I think it's the ST, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I watched the video and I'm like, he does the same things that I do, and I sort of forgot that he had a problem. It's not prevalent.
That's something we talk about
in his speech. It's not prevalent in my speech. So I was like, if she thinks he's stupid or has dementia, then does she think that I'm stupid and I have dementia? Because I'll be honest with you, Biden speaks better than I do. And I mess up my words all the time. And so I got a little upset about that. Again, I don't care. I'm all for comedy, and I'm all for making fun of political figures or sports figure, well, whatever. But to make fun of somebody's, I'll call it, I don't want to call it problem because it's not really a problem, but to make fun of somebody's problem, that's my problem, really hurt me. So that sprung me off, as you know, and I got pretty upset. So I posted something back at her, and she eventually took it down. Or this relative, he or she eventually took it down. I'm trying to be as whatever. See, there's
anonymous, as anonymous.
Yes,
as
anonymous. Nestor, what's up, man? Nestor's watching too. Distinguished? Is my hair distinguished, or is my Phillies hat distinguished? Anyway, I made like a bunch of notes. We're gonna try to keep this as tight to half an hour as possible because it's dinner time on the East Coast and my daughter's gonna want to eat, right?
Probably yes.
Right. Our daughter's gonna want to eat. My lady friend and mine.
His lady friend and his daughter. It's amazing how he anonymizes this.
Exactly.
Apparently, I'm just a random woman off the street.
Exactly. So anyway, so this whole thing jump started because of that video that I saw on Facebook, and then that's a dog and a cat. Sorry, everyone.
Awesome.
Sorry.
This is a professional streaming channel.
So for all, just to be as transparent as possible, we have 2 dogs, and then my mom's dog is also here. So there's currently 3 dogs here.
It's a lot of dogs.
It's a lot of dogs. So anyway, so that's how this whole thing started. And then a second relative also posted another video. It was, Biden bloopers, and same thing. And I sort of got upset about that too. So a buddy of mine, who I'm in a band with, said, hey, he knows somebody. I'm going to try to keep this as vague as possible too. He knows somebody with the same problem that I have, and he said, you know what, you should be a mentor because you my job and the band thing and stuff. I speak 24/7. Basically. So I started thinking about it, and I might do it still, but I wanted to do this first to sort of tell the story, and if it's interesting enough, maybe I will mentor kids or whatnot. But so that's how this whole thing sort of began. Do you have anything to add? You're just hanging out. You're just smiling and hanging out. You look good in the camera, by the way. You look good.
It's interesting from a sort of an aside perspective, right? Like I've known that you have this stutter for almost as long as we've been together. And so it's never been anything that has limited you or stopped you from doing anything. Right. And so when this actually came up, I even mentioned this to him the other day. I said, are you actually upset about it? Because I don't think you really care that much about it, or are you just using this for a platform? And it was surprising to me that he was actually upset about it because it's something that he just sort of acknowledges and he never makes an issue of it ever. So it was just really interesting to me that I assumed he wasn't bothered by these comments, which was completely untrue. And I also have, although my almost stepfather has passed now, he also had
Stan the Man.
Stan the Man.
He's gone.
Who also had stuttering as a challenge, and I think he frequently stuck a little harder even than you do. But he also very much just got past it. He was maybe a little quieter, but in retrospect now, when I see, regardless of who the target is, any of these videos of people stumbling on their words or messing up selections or getting stuck or maybe pivoting a way that doesn't feel legitimate when they are stuck, I now think about that. Yep. Whereas in the past, had I not been around people who I've actually seen work through this, I probably would have been just like everyone else and assumed that it was
a question for you. So
a problem.
So we met many moons ago at this point, so it's probably hard to remember. But right off the bat, did you know that I stuttered?
I mean, I have to try to go back to the off the bat moments, which
it's tough. So
mixed.
I think
I want to say no because since we met in the context of a band,
it was.
Most of in the beginning, especially, like most of our interaction was at practices where you were just singing. You weren't the leader of that band, so you didn't actually talk that much in the beginning.
Just so you know, we met in a band. Laura was replacing me.
Well, they didn't know that at the time. Completely
that's
different
a whole story for another podcast.
Topic.
Anyway.
But yeah, so you were actually pretty quiet, and you mostly just sang. And so no, it probably wasn't evident in the beginning.
So I would say, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, chime in, but I would say 90 to 95% of the people that I interact with on a daily basis, customers, coworkers, and then the band life, probably didn't know. Or maybe they knew, but it wasn't like as big of a problem as I deem. I don't deem. Let me go backwards a little bit. Since college, this has been like an afterthought for me. I don't think about it. It doesn't rule my life. I don't not do things because of it. Just like you said. So since some point in college, something in my head clicked where maybe I had more confidence or just didn't give a crap. And college is mostly like lectures anyway, so there's really not a lot of chance to like talk. But just being more comfortable with I think that's part of my thing, is just being confident. And when I was and I'll go back to this, but when I was a kid, when you get picked on, do you remember the game Popcorn?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, you would have to read. Dr. Seuss is probably a bad example because of what happened today, but I am Sam, I am the Popcorn, Laura. Read. That was like waterboarding torture for me. It's like the worst game. The worst thing you could do to somebody with that problem is to play Popcorn. It was horrible. It was so like.
Can you explain what was horrible about it?
Because I don't want to read in front of other kids because of my problem.
Especially with a trigger, high pressure, instant trigger. You're not ready for it. You're always waiting for it. That amps up the anxiety, which is going to impact the effect.
Yeah. Okay. So Popcorn was just torture. I mean, it was the worst thing you could ever. Probably to this day, if I was at a work function, and I will kill all you. I'm not going to curse here, but you remember. If we ever play Popcorn, I'm going to get up and walk out. That's just heartbreaking. But anyway,
it's scarring.
It's scarring. And it's funny too because I
think some because I listen. We both worked from home longer than COVID, right?
Yeah.
And so I do hear some of your calls when I'm coming in and out, and you will have a moment here or there where you might struggle really quick for a word. I would think. Maybe some of your teammates know that sometimes you struggle, but I don't think anybody would think to themselves, "Oh, it's obvious Nick has a stuttering problem."
Right. Of course.
Correct.
And I think, I'm not going to name names, but I know one person who we work with on a regular basis who has the same problem that I have. I've never approached this person because if it's not true, I'm going to look like, an idiot. But so I think there's one person. And I've always wanted to ask this person, but I'm not going to. But anyway, maybe that person will see this and be like, hey. It's funny, too, because for work, so obviously I give lots of presentations, and we've been doing lots of like Zoom calls, which is, believe me, worse. I would rather be face-to-face with somebody than anything. But I put slides up, and I like putting slides up, but I don't read the slides word for word. I can pick what words I say. So if there's something on the screen and I can't get a word out, I'll just pivot and change the word or change the way that I go. And I don't know if anybody really picks up on that.
Probably not. It probably seems just natural. Yeah. I don't read slides, not because I have that problem, but because it's just not comfortable.
So not when I was hired. After I got hired, they started doing a thing where you had to present to like the C-suite. If I had to do that, I would not be. I don't think I could. I don't think I could have done that. I don't think I could have.
You had to present to your internal C-suite, or they were just
I
testing?
didn't have to. It was so after I got hired, they implemented a training program where at the end of that training program,
they present to your C-suite.
You had to present to the suite, and then they would like critique you or whatnot. I would have been so nervous and probably messed up.
I think as a new hire you would, but I would say today.
Oh, now I can do it.
Right, because they're just people like anybody else. But yes, as a new hire, I could see that.
Anyway, so spoiler alert, again, this has not affected me at all, basically since high school. But so we're going to take a trip down memory lane. So I have some notes here, so part of my thing, but um, so we talked about the popcorn game. So high school was pretty. I don't want to say rough. I had friends in high school. I played sports, so that wasn't any problem whatsoever. But you're at the awkward age, teenagers and girls and stuff. And so one of the hardest things for me to do was call a girl. Now I had my fair share of friends, girlfriends, but so I would call, and if their parent would pick up the phone, I would hang up the phone. And this is before the day of like caller ID and *69 and like all that stuff. So now I'm telling everyone how old I am. I'm 32-ish.
He's ancient and a liar.
33-ish. So it would be hard. Like if I had text and cell phones back in high school, man, I would have been lethal. It would have been fun for me. But anyway. So just regardless, like if you have this problem today, there's a lot more tools and ways around. And maybe that's not a good thing to say. Maybe that's not good to hide behind a phone and like text. But if I had those tools when I was younger, if I could text in my my order for cheesesteak or whatever, like that would have been awesome. And I'd pick up the phone, and that's the worst thing. And even to this day, I don't necessarily. I make you order Chinese food. Because I don't know why, but Chinese food, calling there freaks me out. I don't know why.
So you used to make me do all of the calls, but
yes.
You have actually come off that, and I've seen you do your own ordering now. Is that because you're using apps? I feel like you started using the phone, but I could be wrong. It could be that you're using the apps.
So we frequent a pizza place in Malvern, and I use their website pretty much exclusively. But again, it's just more convenient just to go on my phone and do it. When we get Starbucks, when Lexi gets Starbucks, and she asks me for a mocha laka,
I know, it's like so complicated.
I stress. She has noticed, and don't tell
Make
her.
her do it.
She's in the back seat or next to me. It's hard. But when she's like, order me a mocha choca laka laka ruco with like 4 pumps of blah blah blah, I'm like, what? Like I get nervous because it's like they're words that I'm not used to saying. It's complicated. But anyway, it's fine. So I sort of don't like doing that, but I mean I don't think I'll pick up.
You should use the app. You could actually do the app and then just go through, and then you wouldn't have to do it.
Don't enable me.
Just saying.
Let it go.
Apps are the way around this now. I mean, I don't know, and you would have to actually chime in on this, but for somebody coming up now, like a younger person with this problem, they can avoid, right? They can avoid it. They can use the apps. They can use all these mechanisms. Is that going to decrease their ability to overcome it in situations where they do have to speak?
So this is how I overcame it. And I haven't 100% overcame it. So I did a little research actually this morning, which learned stuff that I didn't know. So it is a neurological disorder, and I did not realize that. And I also Googled, is it hereditary? And I actually read yes. Yeah. But I know a couple people who stutter, and their family doesn't. No one in my family does. So
recessive genes and all of that. I mean, it's tough to really track down.
But for me, when I'm confident, if I have a couple drinks in me or something like that, I'm fine. I'm like flowing and talking, and they can't shut me up. You know what else I learned? I'm jumping all over the place, but so 2 things helped me get out of it. A, it's the confident thing. Again, from college on. College, you're sitting in like lecture hall, so no one's saying popcorn. Read the next thing. You're in giant lectures. There was the only bad thing I had to do in college was we had senior year where you had to give a 1 hour presentation in front. Yeah, I know, in front of. But it was so in front of your class. It was your senior seminar class, and I had known those people for 4 to 5 years, depending on things. So I was very comfortable with them. I would go out drinking with them. So I knew them. So I was comfortable doing that. And that class was at 8 a.m. on Friday morning. And I'll never forget this. I gave my senior seminar thing at 8 a.m. on Friday morning. I did 2 shots of tequila at like 7:30 in the morning. Yep. Ask my roommate.
I believe you.
I did two shots of tequila, walked in there like a boss. I was the first one to give their senior seminar presentation. I just wanted it done. I didn't want it like weighing on my head, and just because I would think about it, and it was whatever. And I did it. It wasn't perfect, but I don't think they knew I had a problem. I think they just thought that I was nervous, and that was it. I got through it. Wasn't nearly as bad as the popcorn game where you can't get crap out.
So I kind of feel like if I look back over the time that I have known you, that you kind of came out of a shell, and I attribute it to the band. I felt like you were quieter and a little more reserved in the beginning because we met at the beginning of your band tenure.
Right.
And so in retrospect, I think, like now looking back, it wasn't that you were a quiet person.
Right.
You were quiet because were you confident enough to do the band thing or have a conversation? Yes, but I still feel like, and I said this before, I didn't think, for all of my love and hate of the band.
That's a whole other podcast.
I don't think you would have moved into a sales role had you not done the years of the band that allowed you to sort of blossom as somebody who's going to be social and interact with people and present. And that's just, then you can do it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. So that's part of it. It just gives you like the confidence. And I think like joining the band, obviously, like you're on stage and you realize that if you turn into band guy, as you used to say that before,
it's a costume.
Turn into band guy and do your presentation, right? When you turn into band guy, you can rule the world. You can be a quote unquote rock star. You can do whatever you want.
It has nothing to do with who you are in reality.
It's all swagger.
Yeah,
just
entirely.
Your swagger thing. I'm gonna say something else to it and I forget.
Sorry, I'm sending you all over because I'm not scripted and I have a hard time staying on point.
That's why I needed you here. I didn't want to do this by myself. Anyway, so I'll tell you two stories. So, and then I'll get off the whole high school thing. When I was this is actually grade school. When I was probably under the age of 10, we lived in Ridley Park, and we had it wasn't a Rover. It was a twin where someone was next to you.
Yeah.
And I ordered pizzas to the guy who lived next door. This guy was a kid. I didn't know. And the pizza man comes and he orders them and he answers the door and he's like, I didn't order these pizzas, da da da. And I got nabbed. You know how I got nabbed? I got caught.
The guy knew
because of the stutter. Oh. The guy said the person who ordered this had a stutter and they immediately knew it was me. And I couldn't even, you can't even deny. Now, I don't even remember doing this. It was so long. I don't even remember making the phone call. I don't remember. Though. But I got nabbed because of that. And then the other thing was, there's one thing there's one thing that I do regret, not regret, but there's one thing that I've always wanted to do, and I couldn't do it because of the problem. And this is going to sound weird, but then you know this too. I for some reason, when I was in middle school and high school, I always had the dream of being an actor on a soap opera, right?
I thought that's where he was going to go.
Yes.
I actually attribute all of this, the streaming, the band, all the crazy stuff he posts on social media with his this buried thing that he needs.
I never wanted to be I never wanted to be a movie star. Never wanted to be a movie star. Just soap opera. No, just soap opera work because it's
would totally take a movie star.
No.
If they gave it to you, yes, you would.
Of course I would. Who wouldn't take that? But I just wanted to be in a soap opera, and because when I was growing up, I watched thank you. Yes. I watched As the World Turns with my grandmom over one summer since the age of 7 or 8, and then I used to record it, and I never missed an episode from a kid until it was done. And then somewhere in there, I used to watch Days of Our Lives in college when. Do you remember when Marlena got possessed by the
I
devil?
do.
So I watched those years in college because for some reason I just didn't have
You didn't have class during that time.
Anyway, so I always wanted to be a soap opera actor because I'm just cheesy enough. I can do the whole John Black. You guys know who John Black is anyway. Drake Hogsworth.
I don't know his name.
Something
like that.
Hogsworth.
Hogwarts, really?
Hogwarts. Jake Hogwarts.
Hopefully he's not watching because he's probably incredibly offended.
He's acting on soap opera, which I never. So that's one thing that I've always wanted to try or do. So I was in Fiddler, and you know the story too. I was in Fiddler on the Roof my senior year, mostly because I was in choir and they needed a guy, and I was competent enough to to obviously sing. I didn't want to do it, and my girlfriend was in the play at the time, so I ended up doing it, and it was really hard. I was on stage and I just didn't do it. I just totally collapsed. It was pretty big.
Really?
From what I remember.
did not know that story about. I knew you were in Fiddler on the Roof. You've never talked about it. I assume, since I know that you have this need to act, that you were fine.
So I didn't have a lot of lines. It was rough? I did have a speaking part. I was the one of the daughter's Russian either boyfriends or husbands. I don't remember. I didn't have a large speaking part, but I did have a couple lines. I just couldn't get them out. I just couldn't do it.
Wow.
So that was pretty. At least for me, it was pretty traumatic. But again, no one ever really made fun of me all that much. Or I mean, there were some, but I mean, it wasn't a thing that held me back beyond that. So those are the two things. So the two little quick.
Did you ever take speech?
Yeah, so that's actually next. So I took speech classes my entire life from grade school till I would say somewhere around high school I stopped, mostly because I played sports 3 seasons and there just wasn't time. I mean, you're getting up early for school. Sometimes we had practice before school, and then you have practice after school, and then you have homework. So I just didn't have time, basically. So I always took speech lessons, and maybe I was just lazy and didn't practice the whole year. You're supposed to slide into your words and talk really slow like John Wayne. Because John Wayne had the same problem.
Oh, really?
That's why John Wayne spoke
they do say that
John Wayne.
A lot of people that end up in the public eye start out with some sort of speech problem because they have to spend so much time working through it.
Bruce Willis also. There's a couple others that I forget off the top of my head, but so there was this guy. His name was Dr. Stigora, and you can look him up. He's deceased now, but he was out of Westchester University, and he was kind of a jerk. I didn't enjoy him. His bedside manner wasn't the greatest, but regardless, and something ironic about him too. I shouldn't gloat or smile about this, but later on in life, he had some neurological problem where he couldn't speak.
Wow.
So can you imagine someone who was
serious
a speech...
irony there. Yeah,
it was very, very serious irony. But anyway, so this is the only sad story that I'm going to tell, besides the whole Fiddler story. But my dad and I went to see Dr. Stigora, and there was this device that you put in the back of your ear that was supposed to help you with your speech. And by the way, I'm going to curse. It was shit. It didn't work well. I mean, whatever. But here's the sad part. We go in Westchester University. I was still in high school, so obviously I didn't know. The room was kind of dark, and it was like you were in a jail. Like he's sitting across the table from you, and my dad's there. So nerves. Now I'm meeting this doctor who I don't know. My dad's standing, behind me, and they're like, "Okay, read." And it was not pretty. It was pretty bad. I look over, and my dad's crying. Now, I've never seen my dad cry up to this point in my entire life. And to see that, you're like, ooh. So that made me worse. So then I started crying. He's crying. I'm trying not to curse because we're running.
He's dead. Come on.
The doctor, he's like, oh, this is just normal. He's blowing it off. So then they put the device in the back of your ear, and he's like, okay, read. My dad's still there. He's wiping the tears from his eyes. I got this jerk guy who I don't like. So I read again, and it still was not good. It did not help whatsoever.
What did it do?
It was supposed to,
could you hear something or feel something?
It was supposed to, I'm not sure. It was supposed to,
shock you if you made errors, Babylon's in it. That's horrible. No wonder you didn't like the guy.
Can you imagine if I had a device and every time I stuttered I'd be shocked? I'd have a heart attack. I'd be dead. I'd already be dead. No one get any ideas out there. I will kick your butts. No, it was supposed to do something. I'm not sure if it was a weird device or anything, but it's anyway, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
And for obvious reasons, it was never popularized, and it was never a treatment for whatever. So I didn't go to him after that. Here's another high school story. I had a high school English teacher. I forget her name. I meant to look up her name. I had her for 2 years back to back. It wasn't Mrs. Long. Mrs. Long was health, but she hooked me. This lady hooked me up like you wouldn't believe. She would never call on me because
she knew.
She would never call on me. I remember this one time. Everyone had to give like a little, like a Shakespeare little speech or something, and everyone went around the room, and she skipped right over me, and everyone was like, "What? Why did he get special treatment?" But that lady hooked me up for 2 years. Now again, maybe she shouldn't have, but I requested her the second year because of what she did the first year. I was like, I want to, her again. What else? So the band thing, obviously, is what and you know what I learned by being in the band and when I do the weddings. Now, it is ironic. I MC weddings, obviously not during the past year because of COVID, but we do about 15, 16, weddings or private parties per year, and I'm the MC. So I have my list, and do you know what I learned? And I do this here too. You're going to shake your head. Yes. When I do radio guy voice, I can say whatever I want. And it doesn't.
It's like singing.
It's like
whatever
singing.
You're doing, it jumps the circuit.
Yep. And the guys in the band, again, I don't think they know or they knew. I'm going to take a step back. I think a lot of times my head does go faster than my mouth because I got a lot of thoughts. That's the dog that almost died last week. Chase, stop it! Sorry.
We prep the environment.
Yes, there's dogs here. Two are mine, one's not. Two are
you already said that.
Well, people are tuning in later. What was I saying? Oh, I learned if I do radio voice, I can make any announcement I want.
You started to say that the band, you don't...
Yeah, I don't know if they knew or whatnot, but they laugh when I do radio. They get a kick out of it when I'm like, Mr. and Missy. It's like a Sixers, I don't know if you've ever been to a Sixers game, where they're like, your Philadelphia 76ers! And they start, I can see them, they're like cracking up. They're like, this is fun. And I like doing that too. So when I put on radio voice, when I can be louder and put on I don't have any problems like whatsoever. It's just weird. I don't know if it that's good or what.
I mean, they say for anyone with a problem, I'm pretty sure that singing's never impacted.
Singing's never impacted. Do you remember American Idol a couple of years ago? It was more a couple of years ago now. I forget what that guy's name was, but
well, then they said the same thing about folks with Tourette's, that when you sing, they don't tick.
That's true. I won't tell that story. But no.
But it was just the one when we were watching American Idol the other day. They had another contestant that had that problem, and she specifically, it was a girl, right? Specifically said that she doesn't tick when she sings.
Yep. That's all my notes, basically.
Well, are we at time? Are we over time?
What time is it? I think that was pretty quick. We're at about half an hour or so. Anyway...
So wait.
That's my stuttering story.
Well, wait a minute. That's your stuttering story. But we opened up with the video, and so I guess my question to you is, what did you want to accomplish with this session? What's the message? What's the message out of all of this for you as it relates to you talked about maybe mentoring children. You also talked about people posting things or making judgments about people when you don't. So
a couple takeaways. I think I do want to do the whole mentor thing, and not necessarily children, maybe like teenage kids, boys, maybe in like high school or something, because it's tough, man. It's tough with the whole girl thing and stuff like that. I think that would be cool. I think I never we didn't talk about this, but there's a point in everybody's life where something in your brain clicks and you don't give a sorry I cursed, of what other people think. And I've never seen a high schooler get to that point. I got to that point very early on in life, probably somewhere in college. Some people don't hit that point until later on. And I think once you get to that point, you're always going to have your speech problem. But at that point, because that's like a confidence.
You're always going to be able to overcome your speech problem once you get to that point.
Yeah. Or you don't care what other people think.
So it doesn't even matter.
Oh well, whatever. What are you going to do? Are you going to fire me or make fun of me? Okay, well I'll find new friends or I'll get a new job. I don't want a new job. I love my job. I'm staying here forever. Anyway, that's it. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's the other takeaway is that again, I basically made this for 2 family members, maybe. Not really.
This podcast. It's a bigger topic than that. And I guess my point was just to bring up the idea that, I don't think nobody set out to hurt your feelings.
Thanks, man. So this Brian Nolan, you sharing your story is huge. So many kids feel alone. It helps to hear someone who has and is still preserving. Thanks, man. That's very nice of you, Brian. Mr. Brian Nolan. Cool, man.
Very nice, very nice.
So I mean, I think it'd be cool to sort of stand up in front of kids. I probably would be nervous, but no. It's a safe space. Nestor, I'd pay to see Nick on a Mexican telenova. I would love to be on a Mexican telenova.
He would do it in a heartbeat.
I got my John Black. Hi. You guys know John Black? Anyway. And I guess the other takeaway, too, is that, again, this is not political. This is not meant to be political, but Joe Biden does not have dementia. He has a speech problem, the same speech problem that I have.
Well, technically, we don't know for sure that he doesn't have dementia because we're not doctors. But
this
the
is
things
true.
the things
they're using is definitely speech tools that
many
stutterers
people
use.
Yeah.
You pivot in your brain different words and you pick different words and you stammer and do things like that. That's what that is. Again, I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you voted for Biden. I don't care if you didn't vote. Whatever. It makes no difference to us.
I think
whatsoever.
Separate from whether it's Biden or anybody, right? Like, just because you see somebody struggle with their words, make a weird word choice, or stumble a little bit, don't make assumptions.
Right.
I mean, that's easy to say, and now I just sound like a kumbaya, oh, be nice to everybody person.
Peace.
But you really don't know. And I don't know, try to be a little sensitive or decent, I guess is the way I look at it. To everybody.
Don't make fun of people's, I don't want to say disability, because it's definitely not disability, but... Challenges. Make fun of their clothing, that's fine. Make fun of their
policy, is that okay? I mean, what if they make a bad clothing choice because they're colorblind?
Your dad is colorblind. And your brother.
See, now we're starting down this crazy path where you end up where any sort of critique becomes maybe insensitive, right? So it's an interesting line.
Yes, it is.
So I guess I would say this. If people were just poking fun for comedy, would you be okay with it?
Yes, I'm all for comedy.
So it's actually not that. It's about people calling someone stupid.
I don't like the whole cancel culture when a comic makes it.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of why I went there.
That bothers me.
It's not really about the making fun of. It's this whole idea that there's comments like somebody is stupid because they struggle with words.
Because then that means that I'm stupid.
Right, and
I just can't. Yeah.
I don't know how you fix it, but I get it.
All right, next week.
Next week. I hadn't even committed to this one.
Oh, we're going to do 2 more. Well, 2 more in my head. So next week, I'll let you choose. Two choices. I forget what they are now. Number 1 is, how has my life changed for the better during COVID? Because I'm going to be honest with you, my life's been better than the last year. Just my quality of life. Does that make sense?
Why would that be my topic?
Well, you got to listen to next week. Oh, I'm going to let you pick. Okay. And the other topic would be parenting in this COVID age. So you don't have to pick now. We'll discuss it over dinner.
He always picks topics that are going to end up with us divorced.
It's not. No, we're not going to get divorced. You're stuck with me until death do us part. One of us might die. And with that, everybody, thank you for tuning in on my LinkedIn experiment. I'm going to turn this into a podcast, and I'm going to post it on the link on Facebook. So if you want to join me on Facebook, it's nick.tantaros, and you can podcast it.
Is LinkedIn the appropriate venue for these topics? I feel like they're not business focused.
Join us next week on Facebook Live.
I'm just curious. I'd be curious for the audience if they feel that these are appropriate topics for LinkedIn.
It's not like we're going to be like calling people bad parents. Maybe a little bit.
I understand that.
All right, we're gonna go.
Apologize,
It's dinner
yeah.
time. The child needs to eat. What am I making for dinner?